must be going.
Why?
Because I'm following a white rabbit.
So we're at day one. Day one of the C4 challenge. And I say C4 because I still struggle to say the whole name. The Content Creators of Color Challenge. Collective. The Content Creators of Color Collective Challenge. But it's cooler to say C4. Even cooler when I say C3 Collective. I don't know, it just sounds super spy-ish. But anyway, yeah. So this is Michelle from Relationships Through the Looking Glass. A lot of people drop the relationships part and just call us Through the Looking Glass. Some people just go really chop it all up and just say Looking Glass. Whatever works. You found me. So this episode for day one, welcome, is just going to be an introduction. An introduction to me, an introduction to the podcast, an introduction to the energy you're going to receive in the next 29 days, and learning about my why. Why do I podcast? Why did I get into podcasting? And why do I see myself doing this for a very long time? So, first of all, I like to put the important information up front. So if you want to know or learn or think you want to keep listening to me, that's cool. But if not, I'm just going to tell you what the next 29 days are going to be like. So when you click the Looking Glass episodes over the next 29 days, you will be brought into Wonderland, where we are going to take a journey with Alice through Wonderland. So I'm going to be doing a storytelling platform, different than what I'm typically used to doing, right? I typically do interview platform or just one-on-one dialogue platforms. This one will be storytelling, and I'm extremely excited to do it. We're going to be meeting Alice where we left her at the end of season 1. So, if you're not familiar with previous episodes, or you just want to get caught up, so when you start listening to the next episode starting tomorrow, you'll know where we're at and what occurred. So, season 1, episode 8 is the story time episode about Alice and the Big Bad Wolf. So we will be picking up Alice at the end of that episode. So if you want to see kind of like what you're walking into, go ahead and listen to that. And if you're looking for an entertainment type of flow, I can definitely tell you it's going to be entertaining. What I also will tell you is within the next 29 days, I will be encompassing all of the topics that we've discussed into the story. So it's going to be an experience of not just the entertainment value of finding out where Alice is, what she's doing, and what her next steps are, but all the topics that we discussed with our guests will be wrapped up inside the story. So definitely check it out. Listen to that episode if you haven't, because if you don't like that episode, you probably won't like the next 29 days. But it definitely should be entertaining. Now, with all that out of the way, my why. Why did I get into podcasts? Let's start with when. When did I get into podcasting? I got into podcasting back in 2018. So the end of 2018. I had no plan. I just I downloaded an app and I started talking into my phone. And that's it. That's what I did. And I really was not concerned about who was going to listen. I was not concerned about when or why. I just knew I had some stuff to talk about and people could benefit, and whoever needed to find me would. And I'm still kind of in that mindset. I'm definitely a believer of whoever needs to find me will. Everybody will connect in different ways with people, and my people will find me and connect, and other people will find others and connect, right? So there's space out here for everybody, and that's one thing I did learn in podcasting. But the first podcast, and it's still going, so this is my second podcast. I have two. This one and there's no way I signed up for this. In the first previous podcast, the one I started, it's more based on the weird things that happen when you go through a spiritual awakening. So if you're not into that, that's not your jam, you're not gonna like it. You won't like that podcast. Because I'm talking about everything. Every freaking weird thing. I'm talking about like being clairvoyant. I'm talking about being an empath. I'm talking about past life regression, hypnotherapy, aliens. I'm talking about all of that wrapped up into how am I supposed to have a love life, right? It's kind of difficult. Like, no one really wants to jam with somebody who can see dead people. So that podcast is really a lot of tongue-in-cheek, but a definite listen if that stuff's interesting to you, you know, if those words don't scare you. And there's a lot of learning pieces in that. And the title came from, you know, in the spiritual world community, people say, you know, you signed up for this. You're exactly where you're at. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know, I look back at my life and certain things that have happened, and I'm like, there is no way I signed up for this. Like, no way. And there's no way. So there's a lot of jokes about that, being the black sheep of the family, talking about my anxiety and things of that nature. So if you want to laugh and still learn some stuff, it's over there. Now, this podcast was a little bit more structured because it was developed with somebody else. So I did not have full creative, what am I saying? Full creative what? I know somebody's listening is yelling the word at me right now, so we'll go with that. I had to, it was a joint effort, right? And the premise was we wanted to have a place where we could have open, authentic discussions between men and women about topics that were impacting relationships that we were seeing on an ongoing basis. Both of us being in the mental health field, both of us doing counseling and therapeutic modalities, we have been able to be introduced to a lot of different things from clients, from friends, from family members, in our own personal lives that we felt having a unbiased, non-judgmental, honest discussion with both genders at the table was what was needed, especially when we're talking about the black community, the African American community, you know? So we were like, yeah, that's what we want. Now, how are we going to do it? And that's when some more research came in, and I came up with the Looking Glass Self theory as its foundation. The Looking Glass Self theory is a theory that's based in sociology about how people perceive themselves, and people will act according to how they feel others perceive them. So a reflection of how others perceive them determines how you act. It's kind of like, you know, you can't go check the mail wearing underwear and a bra. Like, I mean, there might be somebody listening saying I do that all the time, but it's kind of frowned down upon, you know? You really shouldn't be going outside looking like that. So because you know your neighbors are not going to approve, you'll throw a robe on before you go check the mail. So because of somebody else's perceptions or how you feel they're going to perceive you determines how you act. And you see that all through dating, all through relationships. You're not supposed to do this if they're doing this, or if they're looking like this, then you can't do that. It's everywhere. So that's why we came up with using that theory to base the podcast on. And I mean, Alice in Wonderland has always been one of my favorite stories, so it just worked. It just worked. And at the time I had a white rabbit, literally, named Marley. So everything lined up, right? And with marketing, not a problem. Everybody already knows Alice in Wonderland. So it all worked. Now in the beginning, everything was flowing until it wasn't. And my creative partner at the time had some bumps in the road in his personal life and had to step away, right? So I had to pivot. And with that pivot, I brought on 2 co-hosts and decided to keep that male influence by asking male podcasters to guest and to balance us out that way. And the support that I've received in the podcasting community has been amazing. So when this challenge was presented, I jumped at the chance. I'm like, why wouldn't I do this? Why wouldn't I? So that's really all I have for this episode. I wanted you to get to know me. I guess I could go through the whole I'm a Pisces, Sun, Sagittarius, Moon, and Libra rising. And for most of you guys, I have no idea what that means. I like dogs. I'm a dog person. I paint. I design. I'm an artist. All the cartoons of Alice that you're going to start seeing on the Instagram, I did that. I made her. So yeah, that's really big for me. Music's big for me. I'm an introvert. I'm a nerd. I read. I like Marvel and all the superheroes. So yeah, I'm a geek, the black sheep of the family. I'm all that. And on some days, I'll save that for later. So yeah, so hopefully you check out some of Alice's trips and adventures in the next 29 days. And yeah, it's Halloween. So if you check out our Instagram page, Halloween's like my favorite holiday. And I did say holiday. Halloween is a holiday for me. And well, it's not my favorite. It's tied with Christmas because there's balance. I need the dark and the light. So hopefully everything that you've heard so far is enough to let you come back tomorrow and start Alice's journey. So until then, you guys take care, stay safe, and be well.